You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. Be sure to smash that like button. It is talking season in college football. When spring practice ends, from that point until the start of the season, it is talking season. The preview magazines come out next week. Incidentally, I'm going to be in Destin next week while the SEC spring meetings are happening in Destin. I might just happen to find myself upon a beach somewhere where maybe Lane Kiffin's trolling people. We'll see. But spring meetings are next week. In July, of course, SEC Media Days. It's just that time of year where it's just a lot of talking as we're 100 days out, inside now of 100 days from the start of the next college football season. Well, Adam Rittenberg over at ESPN has a piece up today. It's breaking down college football's top remaining quarterback battle. So he looked at the premier college football programs that still have an undecided quarterback position, and he sort of assessed all of them. Who has a returning starter? Who's up for the job? So he looked at Clemson. Look, DJ Uiagalelei is back, but Clemson didn't have a great year last year. Iowa's starting job is up for grabs. Michigan. North Carolina, as they try to replace Sam Howell. Ole Miss, of course, they're trying to replace Matt Corral. You have some returning players. You got Jackson Dart coming in from Southern Cal. I mean, Oregon, they've got incumbents, but then Bo Nix is coming from Auburn. Texas A&M, Washington, of course, LSU is on that list as well. So Rittenberg kind of looked through and broke down each of the battles and who might be the week one starter. Again, this isn't who's going to be the starter for the entirety of the season. It's who's going to be the week one starter at all of these programs that have a quarterback battle. So when he looked at LSU, he just had a little blurb about each. So when he looked at LSU, he considered Miles Brennan, of course, Jaden Daniels, and Garrett Nussmeier. And Rittenberg writes, Brian Kelly's first quarterback competition as LSU's coach is among the most fascinating in the country. He inherits a room with a 23-year-old former starter who needs to get healthy in Brennan, as well as a transfer with multiple years starting experience in Daniels. He writes, but Nussmeier generated most of the buzz this spring, impressing the new coaches with his skills and ability to execute a different scheme. Despite being a top 65 national recruit in 2021, Nussmeier's been overlooked at times, especially when Daniels transferred in from Arizona State, and Brennan opted to return for a sixth and final season. He also mentions Walker Howard joining the quarterback race. But what's interesting is that the next part of the write-up focuses on Jaden Daniels solely. Started 29 games at Arizona State, and he says he didn't transfer to LSU to sit out, something I mentioned quite a bit. He also mentioned that Brennan could be the safest option for Brian Kelly, but that Nussmeier, if he performs early in spring camp, he could be the guy. The prediction ultimately, though, came down from Rittenberg at ESPN that Jaden Daniels will be the week one starter. And I want to be clear, I'm not only bringing this up because that's what I've said all along. So this isn't just I'm bringing this up because it's validation. And I want to be very clear. I'm not telling you something I know. Like a lot of times you'll have people ear to ground that'll whisper things in your ear and tell you things, and like I could present it as opinion, but I know it's fact. Like I've told you, I've been told in really good accord that LSU is going to host a regional. Like I believe my info is good. That LSU is a lock. They're going to be a regional host. We'll see. If my info is wrong, y'all can point and laugh at me. But this, I'm giving you an opinion. And unless Brian Kelly and Mike Denbrock know today who is going to be their starting quarterback, and they're telling people, whispering it here or there, which I don't believe is the case, then I could be wrong. But this is just an opinion that I think it's Jaden Daniels. And the way I keep looking at this is there are three plays, essentially. Number one is the emotional play. The emotional play is Miles Brennan. 6th year, former Elite 11 guy in a transfer portal era of college football. He's stuck it out. He's worked hard. He started the 2020 season, has an unfortunate injury, misses the rest of the season. He comes back in 21. It's finally going to be his time. Freak accident where his flip-flop gets caught on a step while carrying some fishing gear. He breaks his arm. He's done for the year. Like, He's the emotional play. The sixth-year guy finally getting his opportunity. There's the optimistic play, and that's Garrett Nussmeier. It's where it's sort of the optimism and the excitement of the unknown. The guy you haven't seen do it. Yeah, I played a little bit last year, but not really. And you think, man, the ceiling for Nussmeier could be so high. And that's maybe part of the appeal of it. And then there's the logical choice, and that's Jaden Daniels. And I don't even believe this is debatable. Jaden Daniels has started 29 games in his career. He has thrown for over 6,000 yards in his college career. He has thrown for 32 touchdowns in his college career. That is the guy that is the most experienced, the most dynamic as far as arm strength and ability to make plays with his legs. And if you're just thinking logically, Brian Kelly didn't bring in Jaden Daniels to sit. If Brian Kelly was content with his quarterback room as is, with Miles Brennan, Garrett Nussmeier, and Walker Howard coming in, they would have never gone and brought in Jaden Daniels. And I get that Daniels reached out, but if you're assessing that and you feel good with where you are, then why are you bringing in another guy? You certainly don't bring him in just to sit. Jaden Daniels is the logical play, which is why I've said that I think Jaden Daniels is going to win this job in the same way that in 2018, Joe Burrow was the logical play. If that staff in 2018 was content with their quarterback room, with Lowell Narcisse and with Justin McMillan and with the young Miles Brennan, they would have never gone out and sought Joe Burrow if they were content with what they had, but they weren't. So they went and added a guy, and it was always a foregone conclusion. I'm not saying that the quarterback competition wasn't legitimate. You've heard Ed Ogeron talk about it. They charted every rep in practice, and they broke it down. But ultimately, we all knew that was how it was going to end. You didn't bring in Burrow to sit. Now, it was on him to play well and maintain the job, and I'll say the same thing about Jaden Daniels. I believe that Jaden Daniels is going to be your week one starter, and if he stinks, he's going to lose a job. But I think that if you're Brian Kelly, you're getting paid $100 million. The expectation at LSU never ceases. I mean, I see what Vegas has him at. 7.5 is, projected win total. Nobody ever looks at LSU with the expectation of saying, hey, we're going to win 7 or 8 games and be pumped about it. Like, I'm telling you, I think the ceiling is 9-3. Bowl win potentially gets you to 10. I think that's the ceiling. Brian Kelly's thinking a lot more than that. He's got to be. It's why he went and remade the roster the way he did. Why they brought in 17 mid-year enrollees and all the transfers. Because he ain't taking a mulligan. He's trying to win now. Well, if you want to win now, the surest bet's the guy that started 29 games in his career. The guy that's been through the battles, who's been through the fire. So, yeah, that's the logical choice, is Jaden Daniels starting week one. I don't know if that's what it's going to be. We'll go through fall camp and see. I mean, we would have said at this point it was Miles Brennan's team last year. And then he got hurt, and LSU ends up starting 3 quarterbacks over the course of the season. Things happen. It's college football. We'll see. But sometimes it takes an outsider's opinion, like Adam Rittenberg, who primarily covers the Big Ten for ESPN in college football, to look at LSU from the outsider's perspective and say, hey, he didn't bring in Jaden Daniels to sit. Of course he's going to be the guy. And what's interesting is when he makes his prediction, he says Daniels, but notes he must hold off Nussmeier, which could be difficult. But with the right adjustments in footwork and throw in motion, the Arizona State transfer should get the first shot for LSU. Didn't mention holding off Brennan. Mentioned holding off Nussmeier. Remember, at the end of last season, Miles Brennan was in the transfer portal. Because his opportunity here, it felt like it was gone. Again, Brennan's the emotional play. Nussmeier is sort of that optimistic, exciting play. Jaden Daniels is the logical one, which is why he's likely and logically going to start the opener. Can he keep the job? Find out maybe when LSU plays Florida State on Labor Day weekend. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.